and welcome to the Analog Toys live stream. I can't see a thing in this helmet. Ugh. Wow, how's everyone doing? Before we get started today, this is going to be a slightly different Analog Toys live stream, and I want to do a big shout out to a young English Action Man fan named Huey Gillette, who had his 10th birthday a few weeks ago. So happy birthday again, Huey. He mentioned in yesterday's Palo Talk, he was in the chat. For those of you who don't know, Huey Gillette in the chat is Noel Gillette. I think he's using his dad's YouTube account. But he mentioned yesterday it would be cool to do just an open Q&A live stream. So that's what we're doing today. And I've decided to set myself up in the collection room. So if I want to talk about a various toy, or you want to ask a question about a various toy, I can go and pick it up. And I can also show you some close-ups. I've got a second camera set up today. We've got the gorgeous Robo Skull there. So let's get on with the show. Oh, Huey, there's no need to cry, man. It's a pleasure to have you here watching along. I know it's very late in England, so you must thank your parents for letting you stay up so late. Lost and Wallace says Tony's showing off some vehicle gems. Yeah, I just picked a random smattering of stuff. I actually had the Z-Force ATC on the table yesterday, but then I saw someone in the chat earlier on, I think it was Gojatron, mentioned the Robo Skull, so I quickly swapped it out before we started the stream. So Chris Mewa says, great setup. Thank you very much, Chris. And thank you for taking the time to appear on Palo Talk yesterday. I really enjoyed that. Seems my other camera has just logged itself out. I don't know what's happened there. And Chris Mewa says, happy belated birthday to @Noel Gillette. Cool, you're in the chat again. So yeah, happy birthday, Huey. I don't know what's just happened with my other camera. It's just logged itself out. So I'm running it through a separate laptop, so I might have to go and fix that in a moment. But yeah, a different setup today. I'm on a stool so I can get up and move around and grab some stuff out of the collection if there's anything people want to see. So Brendan Haley says, Tony's in a jumper. Must be a cool 28 degrees outside, cold for Port Hedland. No, there's another reason, Brendan, I'm wearing a hoodie is that I sat down yesterday, and because I'm sitting a little bit higher on like a bar stool, I sat down yesterday in a T-shirt, and it really accentuates my beer gut. So I thought it would be better to wear a hoodie and hide it. And the fact that I've got an Analog Toys hoodie that I don't think I've ever worn on a live stream, I'll put it up. So Jeff72 says, great setup and great Palo Talk last night. Thank you very much, Jeff. Can everyone see and hear me okay? I'm a little bit annoyed that my other camera has just logged itself out, but I might just quickly run around and do that. Keep yourselves entertained in the chat. I'll try and keep talking as I move around. There we go. And the other camera's back on again. I don't know what happened there. Dean from All Things 80s. Good to see you here, man. I was hoping to watch your live stream earlier, but it was just way too early in the morning for me. So Johnny's saying audio and video good here. Awesome. Matt Ludi says, great memories of getting the Cobra Hydra 4 for Christmas and putting it together with my dad. Yes, I got this for Christmas in 1987, my original one, which I traded with a friend. And this is the very, very kind donation from Jody that I've decided to put front and center because I have another enormous box donation here from Jody, as well as a donation from Alan Dawson and Ryan Hagen. Unless this is something I've purchased on eBay, I don't know. Alan Dawson says, still waiting for me to wear the Action Man T-shirt I sent you. Have I not worn that in a video, Alan? I'll have to dig that out. And Huey just wanted to say thank you to everyone who has said happy birthday to me. Our pleasure, Huey, our pleasure. So Brian Dillingham's asking if Jody sent me the flag. I don't think it's a flag. It's not. It's a big box, but it's not heavy enough to be a flag. Maybe it's part of a flag or something like that. So ask me some questions, guys. It's an open Q&A. Plockman074 says, how are the Zargon sculpts, Tony? The Zargon sculpts are right over here. In the cabinet next to Captain Zargon. One of the cats just tried to climb into the cabinet. Then I'm going to put there. So there's one of the Captain Zargon sculpts. There's the other one. Very, very prized pieces in my collection. Very honoured to have those. Russ Jarve is interested to know how much of your current collection is left over from your childhood. Very little, Russ, very little. I lost a lot of my collection when I moved from England to Australia in September of 1988. It's an expensive move, shipping all your stuff to the other side of the world. So my parents made me sell off a lot of stuff at a garage sale. I remember selling my Millennium Falcon for like 50p or something like that, or £1.50, whatever it was. So I did manage to hang on to most of my Action Man stuff, which I still have. I had about 5 figures, but kind of everything else from my childhood is pretty much gone, unfortunately. Huey says, Tony, was it hard to find Action Man medic suit because I cannot find one? Yes, it was, Hugh. I've got a couple of different Action Man medics. I've got the 1960s medic, which was very hard to complete. I didn't buy that as a complete figure. I bought the figure with some of the parts, and then I slowly pieced it all together because it's got a lot of accessories. It comes with a stretcher, some crutches, an IV drip. So he was very hard to complete. And then the 1970s medic, I think I bought him complete, but then getting the carded outfit was an expensive purchase. I've got a carded medic from what they call the Wood Grain series around probably around 1975 that would have come out. Connor Fuller. I lost Connor Fuller. Tony, I passed on a Robo Skull at a jumble sale in the 80s for a second-hand snow speeder. Serious regrets now. Yeah, second-hand snow speeders do turn up a lot more often than Robo Skulls. And if you can hear any squeaking, guys, that's the chair. I'm not farting. Loston Wallace says, what's one non-action figure toy that you had as a kid but no longer have that you'd love to have back? Great question, Loston. And I'm going to cheat a little bit here. So the one non-action figure toy that I had as a kid and no longer had for a very long time and always wanted to have back, I just got back thanks to a very kind donation. I'm going to grab it. It's the Hero Quest board game. So I'm going to cheat a little bit. I've only very recently acquired that thanks to a very kind donation to the channel. Salvador, thank you very much for the super chat. A Tale of Toy Heartbreak. The one you wanted more than anything as a kid and never got. The one that got away, so to speak. Unfortunately, working again tonight, but I'll be listening. Iconicon 2021, yes. Plans for Iconicon are really, really ramping up now. Spent yesterday working on a promo reel and a few other things, which I can't share yet, but it'll be a few weeks away. But to answer your question, Sal, the Toy Heartbreak, the one you wanted more than anything as a kid and never got, the one that got away, so to speak, is probably one I still don't have. And that is the Spartan personnel carrier from the Action Man line, which is like an armored car version of the Scorpion tank. I still don't have it. I've never owned one. That's a real holy grail piece for me. Brian Dillingham, thank you for the super chat. For any current habits. Well, my final order for the Valaverse Action Force line is now in. Originally, I pre-ordered the group of the 6 core characters, and then in the last kind of 2 weeks before the Kickstarter closed, I went in and I bought some of the generic figures, a whole heap of I think I bought at least one of every accessory pack so I can give you guys a really extensive review of the Valaverse Action Force line when they arrive. Antonio says, any current Grail items, anything in particular you need to fill a hole? Oh, that is not the flag. Okay. I was going to say the flag, but some Holy Grail items. Yeah, now that I've completed my set of 77 vintage Star Wars figures, I'm now on a bit of a mission to get all the vehicles as well. So I suppose a Holy Grail for me, or definitely the Y-Wing is a Holy Grail. I would really like to get a TIE Interceptor. I need a white TIE Fighter. I need some of the play sets, Dagobah, for example, the Turret and Probot play set. I'm not too interested in getting the play sets with the cardboard backdrops, like the Land of the Jawas, and there was another Hoth one with like a cardboard Imperial Walker at the back. I'm not too concerned about those. So I wouldn't really say they're Holy Grails, but that's kind of something I'm working on. But Holy Grail wise, or a killer whale. I would really, really like to acquire a killer whale for the collection. Something for the Joes to go up and fight against the Cobra Hydrofoil with. Graham Miles, good to see you here. He says, with lines like Motu Origins and Star Wars Retro, would you like to see reissues or previously unreleased characters? Well, within the Motu Origins line, the one figure I really wish they had have done back in the day, and I don't know if they've done it as part of the Classics line or not, but something I'd like to see in Motu Origins would be the like the generic Eternian Guard, and kind of army build a few of those Eternian Guards. From the Star Wars retro line, I'm more interested in getting the unreleased figures that Stan Solo is producing. So, you know, Slave Leia and some of the other ones that I've already acquired from that particular manufacturer. Stan Solo Creations is doing the best work in Star Wars toys today. Wesley Hendricks, thank you very much. Wesley is the very kind person who donated the Hero Quest board game. Is Valaverse or Infinity Equation going to be part of Iconicon? That's a yes and a yes to both. The Infinity Equation are very excited to that we have asked them to participate. Have gratefully accepted the invitation, and obviously Bobby Valor, the owner of Valaverse, he's a part of the Infinity Equation. But I'm also trying to entice Bobby to maybe save a big Valaverse announcement for an announcement that he can drop during Iconicon. So. Lawson Wallace, did you ever have any of the Captain Scarlet toys? I have a bunch, as I'm an American. I don't know a lot of other collectors who are into Captain Scarlet. I did collect some of the Captain Scarlet toys that were coming out. I want to say in the early 90s, there was a bit of a revival of a lot of Jerry Anderson stuff. There were some new Thunderbirds toys. I collected a lot of the Captain Scarlet figures, but they have kind of come into the collection and gone again. I would love to own an original Captain Scarlet dress doll from the 1960s, made by a company called Pedigree, I believe. It's like an Action Man scaled figure. The actual body looks quite similar to Action Man. It's a beautiful toy, but it is incredibly expensive and hard to acquire. Keith Knight. Sorry to hear your news yesterday, Keith. I feel for you, man. Tony, are you planning to ever collect old Thunderbirds toys? I don't know if I'll ever collect old ones. I have often considered, again, I was just talking about the Captain Scarlet toys from the early 90s. I've often considered collecting some of the Thunderbird stuff from the same era. So Tracy Island and some of the vehicles. That was a really, really cool line of toys. I actually have a 12-inch Thunderbirds Brains figure that I just saw it at a toy show one day for like $10 in the box. One of the ones that was released in the early 90s. I think it was a company called Vivid were making those. So Huey's asking, what was the first Action Man suit you wanted to get when you started buying Action Man? Oh, So when I started collecting at the age of 16, wow, what was the first one I wanted to get? I can't remember that far back, but I do remember for a long, long time trying to hunt down the German Afrika Korps Lance Corporal. That was a holy grail of mine for a long, long time. And then I eventually ended up acquiring 2 within a space of a couple of months. Also, the Long Range Desert Group was another one. Can you guys hear this squeaking chair? It's annoying me. I hope it's not annoying you guys. George Aitken says, have you tried to play Hero Quest again? No, but I do intend to. I'm thinking maybe that's something to do on Christmas Day this year, sit down and try and play Hero Quest with my son, if I can drag him away from his PlayStation or something. Stuffy747, how do you dust your Action Man? Well, the fact that they're behind glass cabinets keeps most of the dust out. It does still accumulate dust over time. I used to have a regular kind of, and I'm talking here long before I started a YouTube channel, I had a regular routine of going in every now and again and dusting shelves. But now that I run the YouTube channel, I'm often having to take toys out of cases and off the shelves to feature in videos. So whenever I do that, I take the opportunity to dust them all, dust off the shelves, and then put them back. So yeah, the fact that I'm constantly pulling toys out of this collection and taking them downstairs to the studio to make videos gives me the opportunity to just do regular dusting on different parts of the collection. So it's working well so far. German Nightmare 1976. Are there any reaction 3 3/4 inch figures that tickle your fancy? Odd ones or things that make you go MMH? I don't know what MMH is. I don't know what that abbreviation is, but I've never really been into the reaction figures. I think Reaction first started when they produced those unreleased figures from the Aliens movie. I did collect that set and then resold them at a toy show several years later. But no, Reaction, I don't hate Reaction. They're just kind of not for me. Daniel Dorian, are you ever going to make a Motu 84 line collector guide? Yes, Daniel Dorian, I am. And thanks to some more generous people like Keith Holmesley, I'm getting closer and closer. So there's still a number of toys I need to acquire. I think I need to get Web Store, the Road Ripper. I'm trying to think what else was in the 84 line. I have had a look at it, and I'm kind of always keeping my eye out on eBay for some of the missing pieces. But those videos are quite popular on the channel, so I do intend to make 1984. And I don't know if I'll go through the entire Motu line because I'm never going to get Eternia. But George Aitken, what is your favorite prototype in your collection? That's easy. That's easy. I'm going to go and get in right now. And that is the prototype metal SAS figure from the Action Man line. And there you go. There's a good look at him. He's closer to 4 inches tall. He's a little bit taller than the production figure because they use the metal one to make the molds, and they have to account for plastic shrinkage after they do the injection molding. So Huey says, what is a cheap thing that I can put in the toy box? I will send you soon. Oh, Huey, that's very, very kind of you. If you want something cheap to put in there, I really, really like penguins, chocolate penguins. If you just sent me a pack of penguins, Huey, I'd be over the moon. King Eric the Greatest of All, favorite Star Trek Mego figure? Great question. Great question. I'm going to get this here. So as a mostly vintage collector, it may surprise you that my favorite Mego Star Trek figure in my collection is actually a reproduction. Now, they did make this back in the day, but this is the Romulan. Let's give you a close-up look at the Romulan. I am aware in my recent collection tour video that I called this guy a Vulcan, not a Romulan, but that was just a slip of the tongue. Nicole Clapper, great question. And here's my answer. The Robo Skull. That is my all-time favorite vehicle of any toy line. It's one of my favorite all-time toys. The Robo Skull is just an amazing piece. I was up really early this morning, guys. Really early. Yesterday, I was running late for the Pala Talk with Chris Miwa. I was running late because I didn't have a great night's sleep, and I was so tired last night. I ended up going to bed at 7 o'clock, and I got up at I think 3:30 this morning, and I was first of all waking up and having a shower and stuff like that. But then I started working on a revised version of a promo reel for Iconicon. Gen X Toys Geek Jody, Tony, what's the biggest play set you have? The tallest would be the Action Man Training Tower. But the biggest play set that I own, I think, would be the Z-Force headquarters. I think has probably got the largest footprint. But again, that's kind of long and flat, whereas the Action Man Training Tower is quite tall. So is the Ghostbusters Firehouse. I think the biggest, certainly the heaviest, I think, is the Z-Force headquarters. Kieran Ball says, Tony, a bit of a deep question and one I often ask myself, but why do you think you still collect action figures and toys? That is a bit of a deep question. I am just completely fascinated by the design of toys, by the aesthetics of toys. I mentioned in my collection tour video recently that where I know a lot of other collectors kind of refer to their collections as like a toy museum, I refer to mine as an art gallery. I literally see toys like the Robo Skull as pieces of art. And people collect art. I collect pop art. I collect toys. It's just something that it makes me happy. I'm fascinated is the simplest way I can put it. I'm just fascinated by toy. It's definitely not a complete nostalgia thing for me because I collect a lot of toys that I don't have a nostalgic connection to. I'm just totally fascinated by toy design, and toys attracted us when we were kids because they look so fun and so exciting. There's lots of bright primary colors in toy lines, and I just love the way that they display. So I hope that answers your question. Nick, if all your Action Men had to go and you could never own any more, but you were allowed to keep 3, who would you save? I would save my original Action Man from childhood. As I've got like 5 from childhood, but I had a favorite. I mentioned him in the collection tour video. He sits on top of the Assault Copter box in a Space Ranger outfit, so I'd definitely keep him. I would keep the 1960s Action Man Green Beret because that was a 21st birthday gift from a fellow collector friend of mine, a very generous friend. That was all the way back in 1998. He gifted me the 1960s Green Beret. And the third would probably be my boxed SAS key figure. Chris Miwa says, Tony, if you could have any of your toy vehicles built to full scale and then take it for a test ride or flight yourself, what would be your choice? Ooh, good question. Can I just answer Robo Skull to all of these questions? No, if I'm going to say the Cobra Hydrofoil because I want to launch this at the boat ramp in Port Hedland to go fishing in the Port Hedland Harbour in a Cobra Hydrofoil. And instead of using fishing lines, I'm just going to drop depth charges and try and blow up the barramundi. Wolfie762, thank you very much for the super chat. He says, I started collecting G.I. Joe Real American Hero 82 to 84 and like to have that physical reference book. I have the Belomo Star Wars book, but the equivalent G.I. Joe book is now like $130. Is it worth it? Other recommendation? Thanks. I've got one A Real American Hero collecting guide here. It is... Where is it? Oh, here we go. Yeah, this is the Mark Bellomo one. I don't know if this is the... I think they do different editions of these. I don't know if that's the one you're talking about, but this is an excellent guide. It shows you all the figures laid out with their accessories. It does give you a price guide as well, which I wouldn't go off because it's way out of date. You know, it's saying here that that a mint on card Lady J is worth about $60 to $80. No, you're looking like $300-400 for a mint on card Lady J these days. But as for recommendations for other books, I can't tell you. This is the only Real American Hero collecting guide that I own. So if you can find this for a reasonable price, pick it up. Gojatron, what's your favorite Incredible Hulk in your collection? And are there any vintage Hulk toys you would like to acquire? Oh, yes. My favorite Incredible Hulk in my collection would be the boxed 12-inch Incredible Hulk. That box is immaculate. That's my favorite. I do have a real soft spot for the 80th anniversary Marvel Legends Incredible Hulk that Sal sent me recently. But saying, is there any Hulk toys I'd like to add to my collection? I would love to get the Corgi pickup truck with the small Hulk figure in the back because I had that when I was a child. What other Hulk toys would I like to get? Definitely that Corgi vehicle with the Hulk in the back. Yeah. Connor Fuller, thank you very much for the super chat. I tell my kids they're not toys but plastic representations of much beloved characters. They roll their eyes and say, yeah, dad's toys. Yeah, very much so. Very much. And Nicole Clapper says, if you could design a play set of any location, be it fiction, non-fiction, what would it be? Bespin. Bespin, a 3 3/4-inch scaled Bespin playset would be amazing. I also want to do a big shout out to Michael Schaefer. For those of you who don't know, Michael was gratefully accepted a job on the Analog Toys crew, and he's sitting in the background and he's putting up all these comments. And I'll tell you now, Michael, this is working really well. It's saving me from having to constantly read the chat, and I can focus on answering the questions. So thanks very much, Michael. And obviously to Timothy Ward, who's always moderating. Huey, what is a top tip for starting a toy YouTube channel? I don't know if I'm the right person to give a top tip because I'm not sure that my channel is that successful, really. I think after 5 years, I should be at 100,000 subscribers, and I'm only about to crack 30,000. But my top tip, if you're going to run a toy YouTube channel, is my best suggestion is don't make your channel about one particular set of toys. Because really, if I had have started a YouTube channel 10 years ago instead of nearly 5 years ago, I would have made a YouTube channel just about Action Man. But I made the decision at the right time when I was starting to collect other stuff, and it's given me the opportunity to talk about whatever toys I want, be it Star Wars, Masters of the Universe. And by having that variety, it'll attract different viewers with different interests. That there's a lot of Masters of the Universe fans and Star Wars fans and Mego fans who aren't into Action Man. So my top tip would be try and, keep your topics broad. Keith Knight says, Tony, leave me with the Corgi, mate. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink, say no more. You're too kind, Keith. You're too kind. Keith is somewhat of a die-cast collector as well. So he knows that he's got it runs in the circles and the people in the know with Corgi and things like that. So I'm answering your questions. I don't know if anyone's answered my question. Can you hear this squeaky stool? Because it's annoying me. but I can't go and change it now. So Aaron Nicewonga says, in addition to the Hasbro Star Wars, would you ever be interested in the current Hasbro Ghostbusters? If you're talking about the re-releases, yeah, definitely, because 3 of the 4 Ghostbusters I have in the collection are the re-releases. It was a way that I could very... Aaron's saying, yes, it's very squeaky. Thanks, mate. It was a way I could affordably collect the core set of Ghostbusters. And when I got those re-releases, they're so close to the original, I didn't feel like I needed to stump up all this extra money. So the Peter Venkman, I got all 4 of the re-releases, but the Peter Venkman that's in the collection is a vintage one. Daniel, would you ever collect any more G1 Transformers? There's only one I really want to get, and that is the Dinobot Slag, the Triceratops, because I had that as a child. I do have a miniature version that Jody sent me, which I really like, but that's probably going to be the only one I get. George Aitken, I need to stop collecting Action Force. I have 5 Panthers and 6 Swordfish now. Why do you need to stop collecting Action Force, George? If that's your thing and it makes you happy, just keep going. Anna Dawson says squeaky chair will be the analog toys equivalent of Ringo Starr's squeaky drum pedal. Yeah, maybe. You know, I tested this yesterday. We've got 3 3 stalls that we've got a breakfast bar downstairs. The first one I brought up was really squeaky. Then I brought this one up and I sat on it for 10 minutes and it was fine, but now it's starting to squeak. Let me see. That's better. Stuffy747 says, I'm 13 and do you have any tips for a young collector on what to do to collect Action Man? That's a tough question. Probably ask your parents if they can take you to, I don't know what country you're from, Stuffy, but if you're in England, you want to be going to car boot sales and having a look around. Like it will be hard to try and find stuff there. But definitely, you know, go to flea markets and that kind of thing. But also, I'm pretty sure there are still re-releases of Action Man in toy shops. So, you know, maybe save up some pocket money or ask for a birthday present, something like that. George Aitken says, don't have a Rattler, do have a second-hand incomplete hydrofoil. I have a Rattler and a hydrofoil, both through donations to the channel. So the hydrofoil from Jody and the Rattler from my buddy Joseph. Daniel Dorian, have you ever heard of or watched Voltron, another cartoon from the 80s? Until recently, I was only like marginally aware of Voltron. I kind of knew the name. I'd never watched the cartoon, but I am such a fan of retro blasting that I will watch every single one of their videos, no matter whether I'm interested in the topic or not. So all of my knowledge about Voltron has come from watching the extensive library of videos on retro blasting about Voltron. Vintage Toy Rush, are you running out of display cases for all your new toy arrivals? Yeah, I ran out a long time ago, Vintage Toy Rush, to the point that the Lone Ranger collection now lives downstairs in the studio. I've got toys in boxes, all of the Action Man collection, which you can't see, sorry, the Action Force collection, which you can't see here, it's behind the camera. I would like all of that to be in glass cases as opposed to just on shelving. So I need to get some more glass cases. Damien Ristori, do you have any memories of Captain Planet in Australia? I vaguely remember seeing Captain Planet toys on the shelves here, but it was not a toy line I was ever drawn to. So Nicole Clapper, worst action figure of all time. The 6-inch Amy Adams from the Galoob 18 line. Easy answer. Huey says, Tony, would you say you're a big fan of Star Trek? Not really. I did used to watch reruns of the original series. They were showing reruns on British TV when I was a kid growing up in the 80s. And I would watch them from time to time. My only real interest in Star Trek is the original series. I've never really watched anything else beyond that. Not that I have anything against Star Trek. I suppose my interests are where Star Wars is more of a space fantasy. I am interested in fantasy things like Star Wars, like Hero Quest, like Motu, whereas kind of pure science fiction is not always it's not always my thing. The Gaming Toy Boy, good to see you here. This is Tony. Are there any other Action Man uniforms you wish Palitoy had have included in their original Action Force line? Oh, yeah. That's a great question, first of all. So you're talking about the like wave one of Action Force where we got like 12 figures. What would be a figure that I would have loved for them to have added? I actually think a police motorcyclist and a small police motorcycle for the original Action Force line would have been really, really cool. Here's my answer. The Space Rangers. I think that the original Action Force line should have had not just a Space Ranger, but all the Space Rangers in the line. There you go. Chris Johnson, great to see you here. He says, hey, buddy, just dropped in to say, hey, I'll have to catch the replay tomorrow. My question is, where are you going to display your Valaverse Action Force collection? Oh, I have not even thought about that yet. It's going to get to the point where Gracie will not let toys kind of outside of the collection room in the studio. I would like to display my Valaverse Action Force collection in the living room, maybe next to my fish tank, but I don't want to get divorced, so I have to find another location for them. Wesley Hendricks says, Tony, do you collect any art of the properties you collect? Favorite artist? I don't really collect art, but my easy answer for my favorite artist is not a comic book artist. It's Dave Barnacle, who did a lot of the original packaging art for Action Man. He's my favorite all-time artist, just because I have such fond memories of the Action Man packaging artwork. Marvel Collector UK, Baron Ironblood or Cobra Commander, who was the better villain? Baron Ironblood for sure. I do like Cobra Commander though. Not so much the depiction in the G.I. Joe cartoon, but I do like Cobra Commander as depicted in the G.I. Joe comics. Action figure expert, Mr. Tony, did you ever collect margin 3 3/4-inch Star Wars figures from 96 to now? What do you mean margin 3? Did you ever? Are you talking about like the Power of the Force stuff in the 90s? I think that's what you mean. When that stuff was coming out, that's also when obviously the special editions were released in cinema. That was the first time I ever got to see Star Wars and Empire in the cinema. And yes, I was collecting everything, even the first wave of Power of the Force 2, where they were, really overly muscle-bound figures. I collected that for several years. I can remember one weekend, I was living in Sydney on the east coast of Australia. I was in the Australian Army at the time. And I remember one weekend doing like a 4-hour round trip to every kind of Toys R Us and department store within a kind of 100-kilometer radius, trying to get the Shadows of the Empire Slave One, and eventually found it. But I spent a lot of petrol money and hours and hours driving around. But it's the thrill of the hunt, isn't it? King Eric, the greatest of all. What about D&D? Do you ever play or collect any of those 80s toys? I really enjoyed the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon when I was a child. I've often wanted to start collecting the LJN, I think, the Dungeons and Dragons line. The one thing that puts me off is I'm one of those guys. I'm not a completist, but I do have to get the most iconic pieces in a collection for me to feel as though I've got everything, and the rarity and extreme price of a Fortress of Fangs playset is what puts me off collecting D&D. I think if I came across one of those at what I felt was I'm happy to pay up for it, but I don't want to overpay for it, if you know what I mean. I think if I came across a Fortress of Fangs complete at a price I was willing to pay, I would bite the bullet, and then I would go ahead and collect all the other figures. Daniel says, was there any difference or alter made in the Kenner Star Wars toys when they were sold by Palatoy? Yes, there is a fantastic video on Retroblasting about the Palatoy X-Wing that had all of the electronics removed. That was an item that I gifted to Retroblasting some time ago because I knew Michael had a real fascination with the Palatoy X-Wing. But also the land speeder in the Palatoy line does not have an opening bonnet. There were a few other kind of small changes made to some of the toys. Not the figures, I believe, were identical, but a few changes made to certainly the earlier vehicles. Huey says, Tony, did you read the Beano, and how many people from the Beano can you name? Oh, I don't think I can name anyone from Beano. I'm looking if I've got I have a Beano annual somewhere. Yes, I did used to read it. I'm going to cheat. I've got a Beano annual here, I think. No, I tell a lie, I don't. I do have a Beano annual somewhere. I did used to read it, but tough question, Huey, because I can't remember anyone from Beano. Kieran Ball, Tony, have you heard that Mattel are bringing back Pulsar and Big Jim as 3 3/4-inch action figures with limited articulation like the original Star Wars? Kieran, I actually saw something about this on social media yesterday, and I was probably busy. I didn't actually stop and read the post. I just saw the photo and thought, oh, that looks really cool. And the first thing that went through my mind is that was a really ingenious fan-made custom. If that photo is what I think it is, I quite like the look of that. I may actually acquire a few of those. Marvel Collector UK, how did toy shops in the UK differ to the ones in Australia when you moved there in the 80s? Well, in my hometown, we had a Gamley's, which was, it was a really, really cool toy shop, packed full of stuff. You know, it was a real highlight on days when my dad would take me to Gamley's in Worthing. But it wasn't a huge toy store like a Toys R Us. I did get to go to a Toys R Us in Wales. I think the last year that I lived in England, we went to Cardiff and there was a Toys R Us there. So I suppose what really differed is that in Australia, there were a lot of Toys R Us then, and I was blown away by the size of a Toys R Us shop compared with what I was used to in the UK being like a small family-run Gamley's toy franchise. Harry. Was Action Man as common in Australia as it was in the UK? It was fairly common. They didn't have everything in Australia that we had here. The weird thing in Australia is that they had both Action Man and G.I. Joe. So for several years in the 70s, G.I. Joe Adventure Team stuff was sold in Australia by Ken Bright, and Action Man stuff was sold here under the Toll Toys brand. So Australians had the opportunity to have both. So you can find some really interesting pieces in Australia. They're very rare, but Australian Ken Bright branded G.I. Joe carded outfits and things are extremely rare and desirable. Brian Dillingham, does the analog robot have an official name? That's the analog robot. Oh, you're talking about in the intro stinger? No. Does someone want to name him for me? Retro Blasting, good to see you guys. This is the best community. I was a total knob and started a surprise stream out of boredom, and everyone reminded me about the analog stream. So I bounced my own stream and came here. Oh, I appreciate that, Michael, because I would have just, if I had known, I would have stopped this and gone to watch yours and told everyone they can wait till tomorrow or something. Salvador, who's my buddy who runs the excellent 2 Cents Toys YouTube channel and is got one of the co-hosts of the upcoming Iconicon convention this year. Sal says, the best way to support your favorite YouTubers is to hit the like button and share the links. The only thing it costs you is 10 seconds of your time, and it really, truly helps out the content creator. Yes, it does. And thanks for saying that, Salvador. Venkman, thank you for the super chat. He said $5 for Lady Harriet. Let's get Lady Harriet here. Come on. Come here. Here's Lady Harriet. That was good timing. She's just sat at my feet. Oh, look at this love. There we go, George Aitken. That's it. The Analog Toys robot is now named George. All right, off you go. Retro blasting. Oh, you didn't need to do that, man. But says this has everything to do with my knob move a few minutes ago. That's absolutely fine. That's absolutely fine. I'd probably well. In your defense, Michael, I don't normally do live streams on a Thursday. I either do them normally on a Friday or a Sunday. And I can't do one this weekend because I've got some plans with Gracie. And I've got this huge box here from Jodie I want to open. So no apologies necessary. Yes, gorgeous kitty. She is. She's now sitting down there and she's sitting like this. That's how she likes to sit. Yeah, Harriet is a pretty kitty. She's basically become my cat, like all 3 of the cats here. So we've got King George V, Lady Harriet, and Curly. They were all originally Grace's cats, and Harriet has become my cat because she loves me. And I often wake up like 3 o'clock in the morning. I get woken up to her licking my stubble. I was actually Googling it the other day, trying to understand what it means when a cat licks you, and it's a show of affection. They want to groom you because they feel like you're part of the family. So love you, Harry. Keith Holmesley's, Tony, I have a question. The Indiana Jones board game you have, who is the cover modeled after? It doesn't look like Ford. I agree with you that it doesn't look like Ford, and I've never been able to figure out who that is. I would like to be able to pull that board game out and show you, but that's not in the collection room. It's downstairs in the studio. I'm not going to run all the way down there. But what I will do is post a nice photograph of that on Patreon or Facebook or something later, and you guys can see if someone else can figure out the riddle. Brendan Haley says, are we auctioning a cat? Mr. Miwa had a hungry elf. If I was going to auction a cat, it would be King George V because he was a lovely cat. And then we got Lady Harriet last year. I think it's almost her birthday coming up, her 1-year birthday. George turned into a complete terror cat when we got her because he doesn't like her. So, Aaron Nicemonger, hey Tony, were you ever into wrestling? Did you ever have any wrestling figures? I had a brief interest in wrestling, I want to say around 1989, because it's when I just moved to Australia. I got interested in wrestling because my best friend at school was into it, and I think it was like Friday nights, it was called the WWF then, would get shown on a Friday night on Australian TV. We would watch it. I used to like The Ultimate Warrior. My favorite wrestler is Jake the Snake Roberts because I'm a Roberts. But I never got into the toys, and I was only into wrestling, I want to say like 6 months or a year, and moved on. And it's not really a big thing in my interests. Captain X-Ray, the cover of the Indiana Jones board game is done by Jim Steranko. He did some early design art for the movie, I believe, before Ford was cast. Oh, see, this is what I love about this community. You guys are more knowledgeable than me a lot of the time. And yeah, that makes sense because the artwork does look like there's one particular piece of concept art for Indiana Jones that I've seen where I think he actually has a Colt 45 in his holster as opposed to the revolver, and more of a cartridge belt style. So Retro Blasting says that's a really nice Havoc. Thank you, Michael. I picked this up at a toy show in Perth last year. It had the box is a bit battered, but it had the box with it for. I can't remember what the guy was asking, but he recognized me from the Analog Toys YouTube channel, so he gave it to me cheap. I think it was like $70 US, probably, something like that. Huey says, Tony, I really like to know if you like Tintin. I've never really watched any Tintin. Was never been on my radar. Didn't even watch, was it Spielberg did the Tintin movie? George, would you ever buy the retro Hiss tank but use the stickers for the British Cobra one with the O-ring driver? Yes, I would actually buy the retro Hiss tank. You're talking like the retro collection Hiss tank. That's the one toy in that line that I would get. But I would probably get that and do some kind of a custom with it. I would like to get a vintage Hiss tank. Retro. Yeah, Havocs are usually trash. This is in really, really good condition, all complete. I remember when I saw this, I did a toy hunting video of that trip. It was, I think, January 2020. I go down to Perth like 3 or 4 times a year, and there's like 8 toy shows, but I always seem to go when there's not a toy show on. So in January of last year, I went and there was a toy show on, so I went along to the show. And this one particular table, he had a lot of G.I. Joe stuff. I got the Havoc from him. I'm sure I got some other bits and pieces, but he also had a nice Cobra Hiss tank. There were a few other bits and pieces. But by the time I had kind of got to this guy's table and all this stuff was in a box under the table, it wasn't on display, I had already kind of spent most of my budget that day. So I missed out on the Hiss tank, which I think he only wanted $50 Australian for it, and it was in. And every toy he had was in really nice condition. So, Captain X-Ray, are there any Star Wars characters you'd love to see Stan Solo tackle if he could? Well, he already is. Like the Slave Leia, I think he's doing a Dagobah training Luke. I've seen some concept designs that he's put together for that. I would like to see him do a Grand Moff Tarkin, because I don't think the Hasbro Retro Collection Tarkin didn't impress me that much. So, Brill Bricks, what's your favorite 80s cartoon? Ooh, my favorite 80s cartoon. I would have to say, I mentioned it earlier, I did really like the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon. I would probably say G.I. Joe if I watched the cartoon but it wasn't aired on TV in the UK. We used to be able to get VHS rentals of it, but I probably want to answer this. I'm going to say the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon would be my favorite. Michael Herring says, Tony, do you have a Manglore? Are you talking about the Spider-Man toy from Mego? No, I don't have a Manglore. Very... I'd love to have one. It's a very weird, like, esoteric toy. I like that kind of stuff. Another shout out to Michael Schaefer, man. You're doing an awesome job pulling up these comments. This is great. Daniel Dorian, when did you start to get back into collecting other vintage toy lines such as Motu, Star Wars, etc.? So let me get the timeline straight. In 2010, I made the decision that I wanted to make the Story of Action Man documentary. I wanted to try and attempt it anyway. So I started writing a script and I started trying to track down the original designers. And once I got put in touch with Bob Breakin and he was like on board to participate in the documentary, I then made plans to basically take 6 months off work in 2011, which ended up becoming 9 months. But throughout 2011, I filmed and edited most of the Story of Action Man documentary. And then it didn't come out for another I don't think it came out till 2013. I spent most of 2012 in a weird, not a legal dispute with Hasbro. Hasbro were just crap at getting back to me around, I was approaching Hasbro saying, am I okay to use the Action Man name in the documentary? Or at the end of the day, I should have just put it on YouTube. But basically, long story short, once I had completed that documentary, the documentary came out, I was kind of overdosed on Action Man and decided to start collecting a few other things. Started off with $6 Million Man and a bit of Star Wars. I think I started collecting Star Wars like a lot of other people when The Force Awakens came out. But yeah, around 2013, I want to say. So pretty much everything in the collection that's non-Action Man has been acquired in the last 8 years. Matt Movie 611, good to see you. Tony, favorite Star Wars character? Luke Bespin. Luke Skywalker, but particularly Luke from Empire Strikes Back. But Luke Skywalker. If I had to pick a favorite background character, I particularly like Grand Moff Tarkin for some reason. I like Peter Cushing. Retro Blasting, thank you for the super chat. He says, here's that $5 you and I trade back and forth on live streams and Patreon. Also, what do you think of the Origin Scarecrow? Question from Johnny. So I've got the Origin Scarecrow here. This was not a toy that I was aware of back in the 80s. I went out and purchased this because between Sal and a few other people, Scuba Pete and Chris Miwa, I've acquired all of Wave 1 and 2 of Motu Origins apart from this figure. So I was like, I've got to complete Wave 2. I think it's a good figure. He glows in the dark really well. But I personally would have liked to have one of the original characters complete Wave 2, like Stratos or Merman. I'm actually, now that I've got him, I haven't put him on the shelf with the others because to me, he doesn't feel as though he fits on the shelf with the others. I need to get Stratos and Merman, and then I'm kind of done with Motu Origins. Keith Knight, he says, I've probably asked you this before, but why did Action Man call the SAS Key? Why do they call him the SAS Key figure, but Action Force was squad leader? Key figure, I always thought was a crappy name for him. I've asked this question to a couple of people when I was doing the interviews for the Story of Action Man documentary, and no one could answer me. They all say that it was a marketing decision. But I spoke to Jeff Maisie, who was brand manager for Action Man marketing. He couldn't answer that question. So no one really knows. And because no one could answer it, that's why it never appeared in the documentary. So I don't know. The squad leader makes sense in terms of Action Force because it was a whole team and he was the leader character. So Brian Dillingham says, can you host a live streaming watch along of the Action Man documentary that you did? I, for one, would love to see it. What do you like? So me doing like a commentary kind of thing? Is that what you mean? That would be interesting, actually. That would be interesting to show the full Action Man documentary with me doing a live commentary. But you know what I think I'll do? I think I'm going to make that. I'm going to do that, but I'm going to make that a Patreon exclusive. Yeah. And there you go. For those of you who aren't on Patreon, there's our details at the bottom. Jody, thank you very much for the kind super chat. Question for Tony and or Michael at Retro Blasting. Tony, is there a toy in the Retro Blasting archive you're most jealous of? Michael, is there a toy in the analog art display you're most jealous of? I like this. Yes, in the Retro Blasting archive, I wouldn't say jealous is the right word, but I'm gonna pick two. So in the Retro Blasting collection, I'm very envious of the fact that Michael has the Cyborg action figure from the Kenner Superpowers line. And also the Palatoy Death Star. So Huey says, Tony, did you watch the best show ever, Knight Rider? I loved Knight Rider back in the 80s, Huey. I watched Knight Rider all the time. Bearded Geek Toy Reviews. Excuse me. Any Star Wars figure Hasbro haven't produced for the Black Series that you'd like to see made to add to that ever-growing Black Series collection? Yes, I'd like to have a Hoth Rebel Commander, you know, with the mustache. Who else would there be? Yeah, that's my answer. The Hoth Rebel Commander. Retroblasting says, I'm jealous of all the World War II Action Man stuff Tony has, but it has a great home. Thank you. It's yeah. I don't think I could call this house a home if it didn't have this Action Man stuff in here. So that makes perfect sense to me. Hey, Tony, I know this is an obscure one, but have you ever heard of the Bots Master series? Just got a great item from that line, and I hope I'm not a bother on here or Patreon. I message you on there. Hope it is cool. Yeah, of course it's cool. You know, you're not a bother at all. But the Bots Master series, no, I am not familiar with that at all. Yes, Retroblasting, there are a lot of Michaels. There are also a lot of Scots. Actually, speaking of Scots, not as in Scottish people, as in people with the first name Scott. For the Patreon-only after show, the Patreon-only live stream, which will go live about 15 minutes after this live stream, we're going to be going through the caption competition. For those of you who aren't on Patreon and you don't know, I recently purchased a carded vintage prune face figure. The card's not great. It's all been chewed up on one side. But I purchased this with the intent of opening it. And then thanks to a very kind donation to the channel, I already have a nice minty prune face. So I don't want to open this now. So on Patreon, I've put up a photo caption competition. So I'll just put up the photo so you guys can kind of see what it is. Okay, so this is the photo that I've asked people to caption. So I've got a whole heap of captions here. I'm going to read them out. Gracie has voted for her favorite caption, so the winner is going to be getting this carded prune face figure. But one of the people who sent it through a number of captions said, when you read out my captions, just refer to me as Scott on Patreon. I'll do that, but please be aware there are a lot of Scots on Patreon. So there you go. So I'm just trying to catch up the chat here. German Nightmare 1976. One thing I really like about this community is that we can enjoy each other's collections, especially when you share them in your videos. Yeah, this is one of the unexpected things I really like about Patreon. When I started Patreon, I wasn't aware of the community tab. I love the community tab where you guys share all your different stuff. So, Retroblasting. Captain Testiclehead, the space pirate from a galaxy far, far away. That's a far better name for Prune Face than Prune Face. Captain Testiclehead. I love it. I love it. Cranking 51 Gaming. What is your favorite Action Man and favorite Clone Wars character? Confession time. I've never watched a lot of Clone Wars stuff, but it's probably going to be Obi-Wan Kenobi because Obi-Wan Kenobi for me is one of the highlights of the prequel trilogy. My favorite Action Man. I can't single it down to one. I think I even did a live stream about my favorite Action Man figures, but I like the Royal Marine. I like all the SAS stuff, the 60s. I like the ceremonial guys behind me here. I'm fond of German stormtroopers. I've got like 10 favorites. Mike says, Tony, did they come out with Action Force cartoon? Not for the Palatoy line. When it turned into the Hasbro rebranded Action Force International Heroes, they just took the G.I. Joe cartoon and then overdubbed every sequence where they said Yo Joe and turned it into Full Force. And it's really jarring to watch, going from these American voice actors to British overdubs. So, Retroblast, they're using a bounty hunter named Django Fett to create a clone army. I can't do the voice as well as you, but that cracks me up. Any toys anyone wants to say? How long have we been going for? Oh, 1 hour and 5 minutes. Damn, that's flown by. That's flown by. I think we'll do a longer live stream than normal today. Hopefully that's cool with everyone, because we've got some unboxings here, but might keep answering your questions for another few minutes yet. K Slater 23. Can you talk about the different emotions that the varied sets you collect elicit? Do you have a list of physical toys you're now on the hunt for? Can you talk about the different emotions that varied sets you collect elicit? Well, as a child, I found Action Man to be very inspiring, which, Action Man is not the sole reason, but one of the big reasons. As a child, I developed a lifelong dream to go into the military and serve in the special forces. I wouldn't say it's kind of hard for me now to talk about emotion with toys, because I'm really passionate about it, but I don't have emotion connected to it. I'm not one of these crazy nut jobs that thinks that Star Wars toys are imbued with an existential magic. They're just really cool toys. I have an interest in them. So, yeah, that's a tough one for me to answer. But your second question, do you have a list of physical toys you're now on the hunt for? I've got a long list of toys. I mentioned earlier there's a few Masters of the Universe stuff from 1984 I'm trying to acquire to complete that video. A lot of Star Wars stuff. Like now I've completed that figure set. There's a number of vehicles I want to acquire and some more of the play sets. I've got no intention of completing the entire Kenner Star Wars run. The last 17 figures don't interest me. I wasn't aware of them when I was a kid. It's also a cost-effective way of collecting stuff. Well, relatively cost-effective way. Anthony Whitehead says, Tony, what's your favorite Evel Knievel toy? Well, when I was a kid, the only one I had was the stunt cycle, but that has changed now. Ever since Evel Knievel was able to jump Snake Mountain, my favorite toy now is the chopper bike, because that's the bike that he used to jump Snake Mountain. So, Keith Knight, have you decided what Evel Knievel is going to jump next? And keep it clean. This is a family show, folks. I don't know as I'm going to attempt that again. It was that video came together so brilliantly the first time. I don't think I could kind of recapture the same fun by just repeating it again. All Things 80s says, did you collect or play with Lego as a child? Yes, when I was very young, I had a lot of space Lego, but I was also really into the medieval knights, so the castles with the knights and the horses. I really like that. And then a little bit later on in my child, I really got into Technic Lego. I remember having a Technic Lego Land Rover, I think it was, where when you the steering wheel could steer the car and stuff like that. So yes, Lego was a big part of my child, and I used to later on in life use a lot of Lego to build little bases for 3 3/4 inch figures and stuff as well. Stephen S., do you have the Death Probe from the $6 Million Man 70s collection? No, I don't. And that is actually a good answer for some of these Holy Grail questions. It's not a toy that I'm actively looking for, but it's a Holy Grail piece that I would like to have in the collection. Yeah, very much so. The Death Probe from $6 Million Man is very rare. Tom, thank you very much for the super chat. He says, what's your least favorite toy line to collect? Well, some of my least favorite toy lines I just don't collect. But if you're saying my least favorite one to collect, I don't know. I don't quite know how to answer that because I get enjoyment out of collecting toy lines. Otherwise, I wouldn't collect them. You know, I often have people asking me, "Can you make a video about X toy line?" I mean, no one's ever asked me to make a Thundercats video, but if anyone ever did, my answer would be no, because I don't like the toys. I have no interest in Thundercats toys. So, my least favorite one to collect, maybe Transformers, because I have a couple of Transformers. So that would be my least favorite one to collect. Brill Bricks, will you ever buy Lego, Marvel, or Star Wars? No. Lego's become such a huge phenomenon that you kind of, if you're going to become a Lego collector, you either have to just pick some very select pieces, or you go all in and don't collect other toy lines because there's so much product available. I do always look at Lego stuff when I walk through a toy aisle in a store, but no. Plockman040. Hey, Tony. Now that Hasbro has the Power Rangers rights, what would you think of a Dinobots Megazord? Interesting. I don't think a lot about it, to be honest. It's not something my brain even wants to consider. Power Rangers are not my thing, and Transformers are not much of my thing either. I would say I regret any NECA purchases I made. Level of regret increases with faith plans the figures do periodically. So I've got 3 NECA figures in the collection. I've got a Halloween 2 Mike Myers that I literally purchased to do a Halloween themed video, but the video bombed. So maybe it's because people don't like NECA. And then I did a Christmas special with Gizmo and Gremlins. I kind of like the fact that I've got that Gizmo and Gremlins in the collection because I'm not really interested in the vintage toys because they were a bit naff. And again, I picked those up to make a Christmas special video. And I just happened to stumble across them in a toy store in a town kind of local to Port Hedland. But I'm not going to be collecting any more NECA. Oh, Mike. Tony, did you see the Snake Eyes movie figures? I didn't just see the Snake Eyes movie figures, Mike. I sat down in front of a camera in the studio and had a huge rant about Snake Eyes figures. And the next morning, when I sat down to edit the video, I had sat down to make that rant after I'd had quite a few beers and I was slurring my words, and then decided I can't be bothered to sit down and redo it again. I didn't want to put the video up the way it was. There was a bit of swearing involved. So that may indicate if you're asking what I think of them, I was not impressed. Not impressed at all. Retro Blasting. If there was one toy the fan maker community could make from any line that the vintage companies didn't, what would you choose? Well, if I don't want to call Valaverse a fan maker because it's far more than that, but I would love to see Valaverse do either a Red Shadows figure. He can call it something else. He can call it a Crimson Trooper or whatever. But for a fan maker community, apologies, I don't remember the name of the guy who does the Battlestar Galactica customs that you've done videos on your channel of, Michael. I would really like to see him. I was just going to tell you, I would like to see him do a Buckridge Starfighter, but he's done that. My brain doesn't work now. I still kind of want to answer that question, though. A fan maker. Well, I would like to see Stan Solo. I know he would never do this because he's got no interest in Action Force. But I would really like to see Stan Solo do some custom 3 3/4 inch figures of like a red shadow diver because they appeared in some of the comics. Obviously, the Black Mage has done a red shadow eel, but that's just a red copy of the Cobra eel. I would really like to see Stan Solo do some red shadows customs there. Salvador, thank you for the super chat. We need to collectively twist Bobby's arm into making a Frogman character in Action Force with a scaled texture to his armor suit with the code name Kraken. Well, I've had a chat with Bobby, not particularly about this, but the code name Kraken. I'm trying to sit where I stop making this chair squeak. The code name Kraken is not really copyrightable because it comes from ancient Greek mythology, so he can use that name. You could even reverse it and call it Necrak or something, I suggested to him. But yeah, I think the idea of I mean, first of all, I want to see a Frogman character in the Action Force line, whether he be one of the enemy or, some kind of a Navy SEAL type character. That would be really cool. Mike Bass says, Tony, great channel. Is there a period of history you wish was better represented with toys? The current day. the current day. Retro Blasting says, I have one wife, Melinda, and one adopted sister, Kylie Minogue. I'm very protective of both of them. And I am too. I'm very, Kylie is a fantastic ambassador for the country of Australia, and Melinda is a good friend, so I would defend them both with my life. Retro Blasting says, I want him to do a Galoob 5-inch scaled 18. Yeah, man, that would be cool. That would be awesome if he could do a Galoob 5-inch scale 18 van. Yes. Huey says, Tony, did you watch Doctor Who? And who is your favourite Doctor Who? Mine is Tom Baker. Yes, I did watch Doctor Who. I don't think there are many people who grew up in the UK in the early 80s or the 70s in particular who didn't watch Doctor Who. I'm not a huge Doctor Who fan. Like, I'm not incredibly knowledgeable, which is probably why I've never done a Doctor Who video on the channel. But my favourite Doctor Who is easily Tom Baker. Another reason I particularly like Tom Baker as Doctor Who is that he voiced one of the Action Man adverts for the Space Rangers, the one that featured the Gargon and everything. He's got such a unique voice. So, the fact that Tom Baker's also voiced an Action Man toy commercial, he's always going to be the one for me. Okay, well, an hour 18. Let's go for 3 more questions, and then we'll get into the unboxings. What is your favorite history time period? When you're talking toys, for me, it's the 1970s, which is strange because I didn't grow up in that. I was born in 1977, and I don't have any memories of the first 3 years of my life. You're too young. Probably my first memories would be 1980. So I consider myself a child of the 80s. But there was just something about the toys of the, maybe it's because I had a lot of hand-me-downs from my brother, so I was aware of what was available in the 70s, and they were these unattainable, amazing toys. $6 Million Man, all the Action Man stuff in the 70s. Action Man, I really think, was at the height of its power from kind of 1972 to about 1976. That's the real. I even call it in the Action Man documentary that's the golden era of Action Man, when they were making all these amazing classic British outfits and stuff like that. So, Mike says, Tony, do you know of the 1 to 18 Joy Toy action figure line? My toy shop just got some in. I've heard of them. I'm sure I've seen them because the name is immediately recognizable, but my brain is not connecting the name with a visual of what Joy Toy looks like right now. So, any more questions before we get to the unboxings? I've got to start moving some stuff off the table here. There goes the Havoc and Scareglow. DC McFarlane. Well, yeah, that stuff is NECA grade garbage also. Yeah, we're aligned in our thinking here, Michael. We're aligned. I have to remember when I get up later that this stuff is down here so I don't go and step on anything. And we've got the Hydrofoil. Thanks again, Jody. I love this toy. German Nightmare 1976 says, Tony, what's your favorite vacuum cleaner? And my answer to that, my favorite vacuum cleaner is the 14-year-old boy who lives in the bedroom downstairs, because he's the one who vacuums the house and he does a great job, and that's how he earns his pocket money. So I don't care what kind of vacuum cleaner it is, so long as he's using it. That's his shout out to Melinda. Very cool. Oh, I've got a Z-Force ATC here as well. Just laying around. As I said, that was originally on the table, and someone mentioned RoboSkull in the chat before the stream started, so I quickly swapped it out. All right. First of all, we've got a mystery box here from my good buddy, Alan Dawson. Alan has sent me a mystery box before. I'm just going to cut this out so we don't see, because Alan sent this to my home address. Not many people have the home address, but I think it's also got his address on there as well. So we've got here, this is in a nice plastic first aid case. I'm going to have to cut that tape there. This feels like that scene in Pulp Fiction where I'm going to see, is it Marcellus Wallace's soul or something? Okay, we've got, Dear Customs Australia, if you're reading this, thank you for your hard work. This was packed in a specific order to produce certain surprises to the recipient. While I fully understand the need for inspection, it would be great if you could try not to rearrange the contents more than necessary. Thanks in advance. Well, Customs never opened this, Alan, so I think we're good there. He says, I look forward to watching you open this. Cheers for now. Or is that the back of another? Oh, that's the back of another part of the letter. Dear Tony, here's a quick note for you as a little help for unboxing this package. Leave the thing inside the Santa jacket until... Okay, I'm not going to read this because it's going to spoil the surprise. So what we have here, first of all, so we've got some Force Awakens postcards. So we've got a Rey postcard there. Thank you very much, Alan. A Star Wars Force Awakens postcard. And, well, these are from the Sky store. So Sky being, one of the UK cable channels on TV. Thank you very much. We have an Action Man Analog Toys, like a coaster. It's like a laser cut wooden coaster. I can put my cup of tea on that. There we go. Thank you, Alan. What have we got here? This is all sorts of printed materials. Looks like Indiana Jones stuff. Yeah, we've got printed money here. We've got oh, look at that. How cool. We've got a poster there for the Club Obi-Wan. Very nice. I'll read that letter in a minute and see if I can understand what's going on. So we have a thumb drive. Not sure what's on this. Oh, Alan Dawson. Double-decker minis. Or dinky deckers. Dinky deckers, they call it. Double deckers is my favourite chocolate bar from the United Kingdom, and this is like a packet of mini ones. So I'm going to enjoy eating those later today. Okay, he says here, Santa suit, as promised previously, at least it will have to wait for the Christmas 2021 video live stream. Leave the thing inside the Santa suit until last. So we've got a Santa suit here and pants and hat for Action Man. Obviously, I've got the hat already. There's something inside this, so I'm going to leave that till last, as Alan requested. And, oh, wow. It's Roadblock. It's G.I. Joe Roadblock. I don't have this figure. It's got his file card with him. Anthony Whitehead, which kind of vehicles do you need and which 1984 Motu figures? Kind of vehicles, I need the TIE Interceptor, the Y-Wing. They're like two on the top of the list. The Cloud Car, not really worried about it. Motu figures, definitely Web Store. That's the one that comes to mind, is Web Store. Oh, awesome. This is awesome. This is a vintage Kenner Star Wars tripod laser cannon, a toy that I would love to add to the collection. Am I going to piece this together now or am I going to mess this up? Thank you very much, Alan. This is cool. Another piece for the Hoth display. How does this go together? So we've got all the legs here. Oh, like that, yep. I'm getting there, guys. I'm getting there. I may be doing this completely wrong, but there you go. How was... Oh, no, that can't be right. I got it now. I've never had this toy before, so I'm not sure how it goes together. That's better. Hear that snapping? That's how it goes. So we've got the tripod laser cannon. We've got the ammunition box. Where does this go? It goes underneath. Very, very cool. Let's show you a close-up of that. That's awesome. Thank you, Alan. Thank you very much. Wolfie762, you can never have enough tripod laser cannons. Well, this is my first one, so there you go. Nice. We've got some water slide decals here for Red Shadows. They're going to be awesome for customs. And very nice. Very nice. Alan has printed out and laminated the Dux Fox file card that was created for me. Thank you very much. Retro Blasting says, I got that cannon early on in childhood. It was the second mini rig I ever had. I had the Cap 2 is the one I remember having. That's a toy I'd like to reacquire, the Cap 2. We've got here a yellow fireman suit, and I want to say that is for the 12-inch Galoob Mr. T. I think it is. I think it is. We've got here an awesome, very awesome Skeletor sticker. Thank you very much, Alan. And a Palatoy pin button. Oh, I'm gonna show you this one on close up. This is very nice. Palatoy pin button here. That looks. Can you see that? Very nice metal pin there. Thank you very much, Alan. Vintage Toy Rush says, who's going to fire the laser cannon? Well, I've got a couple of Imperial Snowtroopers. I might need to get a couple more. Both of mine are standing in the cargo bay of the AT-AT at the moment. Jody says, Tony, did the Dusty machine gun bipod arrive safely? I don't know what you mean, Jody. Sorry, I don't have a Dusty bipod. Okay, now, so I read this. I'm going to read this letter here from Alan now. Leave the thing inside the Santa jacket till last. It will be worth it. So we'll do that in a moment. The Santa suit was promised previously. At least you'll have it for next Christmas live stream. Another 3 3/4 inch Roblox figure with weapon and file card. Bought this for his weapon, then not needed it. Why will become clear later. Okay. Star Wars postcards became stiffening in something sent to me and seem ashamed to bin them. Empire Strikes Back tripod laser cannon built up mainly from bits that came in job lots, since I noticed you don't appear to have one. No, I don't. So thank you very much for adding that to the collection. The Palatoy enamel pin badge, a wooden Action Man logo coffee coaster. I was playing with my new laser. I did try to put Analog Toys logo on the other side, but it didn't work. I was correct. The firefighter outfit is for the Galoob 12-inch Mr. T figure. A Skeletor cut vinyl sticker, some waterslide decals of the Red Skulls, Red Skull emblems, laminated Dust Fox file card. This might give you a hint on what's to come. Another Santa hat to go with the suit. The Dinky Deckers are a handy way of filling space with packaging without shipping junk, and allows you to ration your favorite chocolates. Thank you very much, Alan. Some custom 1/6 scale Indiana Jones paper items covering all 3 films, which I had knocking around. Yeah, I'm going to use some of those actually with the Indiana Jones collection of figures I've got there. My phone's going crazy here. Jody. Oh, unless it's this Jody, because I don't know who this is from. So, okay, now you can get to the mystery item from number 1. Okay. Anyone want to do a drum roll? There's a mystery item in here. I need to catch up with the chat. And this is oh my God. I already know what this is. So that's the Analog Toys. That's like the avatar of me that was created by the fantastic artist Dave Song. And oh, wow. And in here we have a custom action figure of me with a general purpose machine gun, no less. Alan, this is freaking awesome, man. It's an action figure of me as that avatar. Yes, I do have a close-up camera, and I'm actually going to walk around and show you this on the close-up camera. So I can give you a proper close-up here. Look at that. Painted like the avatar. He's got all the SAS badges on him. That is so, so cool, Alan. And he's going to go pride of place in the Action Force collection. That's awesome. So awesome. And he's right now going to go in the top of the Z-Force ATC. Everyone in the chat seems to be loving this, Alan. Man, thank you so much. That's so. Did you make that custom yourself? Very cool. Yes, look at all the comments going by. Sweet, nice custom. Mike Bass. Mike Bass's question there. Did you ever collect any toys from the Zulu War? I don't, but my dad is really, really into that a lot. He collects die-cast metal soldiers, and his number one interest is soldiers from the Zulu War period. I've also got this nice little plastic first aid case now I can use for storing things. German Nightmare 1976. Any tip on storing or preserving old rubber like the hoses on the gun or energy distributor in the kennel line? There's a lot of theories that go around about vintage rubber. The best thing I've been able to use is a silicone spray. Silicone spray, I think it keeps stops the rubber from drying out. How long that's going to prolong it for, I don't know, but that's the best tip I've got. So Alan's saying there, it's the SAS. Oh yeah, I didn't even notice. It's the SAS squad leader body with the head of the Z-Force captain swapped over onto it. That's very cool. Very cool. Okay. So we've got another small box here, which I had no idea who's from, but I think now we've kind of figured out that this is from Jody. I think. Yes. Jody. Hey, Tony, believe you were looking for this. Cheers, Jody. And it is Dusty's bipod. You're too kind. You're too kind, Jody. And I don't know what I'm going to do now because Matt Swafford is sending me one. So now I'm just going to have to buy another Dusty, and I have two of them. This is obviously tiny. You're not going to be able to even see that on camera. I'll get up again. There is the Dusty bipod. Thank you very much, Jody. I'm scared I'm actually going to lose this during the live stream. So he's going to go back into his plastic case there. Put him down. Okay. Trying to figure out the logistics of this next one, because for those of you who haven't seen the photo I posted earlier, this box is enormous. And I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to open this and see whatever's on the table. I'm probably going to have to open it down here and lift stuff up. So, and this box is from Jody. It arrived from an eBay seller. I got in trouble with the wife because this arrived at the home address. She knows like donations to the channel come to the PO box. So when this arrived at home, she was convinced I bought something that I hadn't told her about. And it was from an eBay seller called Boonsart, an eBay seller I'm very familiar with. And I was like, I haven't bought anything from Boonsart in over a year. What's going on here? And then this reeks of Jody. So I messaged him. He's like, yes, it's from him. So let's figure out how to do this. What is Jody sending me this time? I've got to do something about this squeaky chair. Okay. Dear Tony, after the vehicles Chris Me was sent you have been battling after the vehicles Chris Me was sent you have been battling venom. Some might need a place to get some repairs or at least some fuel. Here's the place for them to go and do. Is this what I think it is? Okay, there's first of all a lot of wrapping paper. No freaking way, Jody. It's the Mars Boulder Hill. Holy. I am going to need a bigger table. Jody, what the? It's the boulder from Boulder Hill. Oh, my word. I'm going to have to... I've never, ever even played with this toy. I don't think I've ever seen one in person, so I don't know how the hell to put this all together. This may be something for the Patreon-only live stream. Piecing together Boulder Hill. Got all the fuel pumps here. How are we going to manage this? God, it's going to take me hours to pack up from this live stream. And this thing's enormous, Jody. Illusion is the ultimate weapon, says Kuma-chan. Yeah. And Jody is a master of that weapon. There's a lot of packing here. Holy crap, Jody. What? Thank you. Thank you. This channel is like Christmas, says V the Pro. It feels like Christmas. Although these days for Christmas I don't get given things like this. The wife doesn't like buying me toys. There's lots of parts and pieces here in wrapping. I'm going to have to make sure I go through all of the wrapping. Huey says, Analog Toys, thanks for all the love you've given me on this trip. Oh, you're very welcome, Huey, man. And happy birthday again. The reason I didn't answer some of your comments yesterday, Huey, is I didn't know that Noel was Huey. I figured it out later, obviously, because of the surname. I'm assuming you're using your dad's eBay account. So big shout out to Huey Gillette again. Look at the size of this thing. How on earth? I don't even know how this goes together. All right, Jody, I'll do your deal. If you're going to send me something like this in the future, you need to fly to Australia and sit here on the live stream with me and help me put these things together and onto a table. So that goes there somehow. On this great gift box by Jody for Tony, give this video a like and a thumbs up if you haven't already. What a community. What an amazing community. So Chris, you send me some masked vehicles. Jody watches that and then goes, I'm just going to send Tony a Boulder Hill. Like, who does that? I love this community. What was that? Something just flicked out of my hand there. Oh, there we go. Boulder Hill. absolutely no idea what I'm doing. Looks like it goes there. Michael Shaver says, we can walk you through it, Tony. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get everything out of here, unpack. I'm going to clear the table and just put the mask pieces on, and we're going to put this together on the Patreon only live stream about 15 minutes after this. Oh my God. I need to take it may be a little bit more than 15 minutes because I need to go and make a cup of tea and have a toilet stop. But I want to kind of pack this, rearrange this stuff, and we'll put this together on the Patreon only after show, and we'll have the caption competition as well to see who won the carded Captain Testicle Head. Damn, what an awesome live stream. Thank you to my behind the scenes crew, Timothy Ward and Michael Schaefer. You've done a fantastic job tonight. I can't thank you guys enough. I can't run a stream like this and have it be as successful as this without your help. So thank you to Alan Dawson and Jody for the very, very, very kind donations. And I think in the Patreon only after show, once we get this together, we're going to have to put Dust Fox at the top of Boulder Hill or something like that. So, all right, guys, I'm going to sign off here. So let's just read out Jody's comment there. Wolfie762, yeah, unfortunately, not big enough for Rhino to drive out of the garage. Oh, yeah, can you get the Thunderhawk in there, though? Because I don't have a Rhino at the moment anyway. Now I'm probably going to go and buy one. But yeah, thanks to everyone for tuning in. I've really, really enjoyed this live stream. Thanks again to my behind-the-scenes crew. Thank you for all the super chats, for all the donations. This has been an absolute blast. And for those of you who aren't on Patreon, we do a Patreon-only live stream about 20 minutes or so after this one. You can join Patreon for $1, $2, $5, or $10 a month. Any one of those tiers gives you access to the Patreon-only live stream. The link is in the description of this video. It's also scrolling across the screen at the bottom there. So, all right. Thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. And I'll see the patrons on the Patreon-only live stream straight after this. All right. Take care, guys, and I'll see you soon. Cheers.